Hi everybody, today I want to talk to you about PartyServer alarms. It's a way that you can schedule some action to happen in the future. And I'll show you an example of how this is super useful. Imagine an app like Blue Sky or Facebook where they're tracking likes, right? So a user sends the fact that they want to increment the like counter. So the like counter is shared state. And now we need to tell all the other users that the likes, the counter incremented. Now this is okay if there's a small amount of people, but what if there's thousands or millions of people that are monitoring that counter and need to get updates? So it can get very, very inefficient quickly. What would be better is if we introduced a lag. So imagine that when the user increments the like counter, instead of setting it right away, we introduce a timer that basically batches the updates maybe every 60 seconds or every 10 minutes. This way we can reduce the number of messages and the amount of performance and noise to only happening at certain times. And so Cloudflare gives us this nice API where we can set an alarm inside our PartyServer. We can say at a certain time that we want to have an alarm set. We can also check if there's already an existing alarm, because you can only have one alarm per Cloudflare object. A durable object, and you can also cancel if you need to. So you can call delete alarm if you wanted to cancel the alarm. Now to handle the alarm, you would implement this async function on alarm, and then you can do your important stuff inside this function. Now a couple other cool things is, one, Cloudflare can retry the alarm. So if there's an error during the call, Cloudflare will start retrying it with a backup strategy. And another cool thing is that your durable object can go to sleep. So that means if you have a timer, like scheduled work for, let's say, tomorrow, you don't have to keep that process running and pay for this all this idle time. Cloudflare will snooze your PartyServer, and then tomorrow, when the alarm is called, it will wake it up. So you don't have to pay for all that empty time. Okay, cool. So let's look at a demo. Okay, so my demo is going to be how to build something like this, like a like counter, right? So what I'll do is I'll start by using my template here. So let's copy this, and I'll go into a terminal, paste that, and we'll call the project, let's say PS like counter. Let's go into that project. What I'll focus on first is the server side. So let's look at the worker server. What we want to do is we want to have our state should be like a list of all the people that I've liked. So an easy data structure would be a set. So imagine we have a likes field, and we'll use a set. And the set will be a set of strings. And the reason I'm using strings is because we'll use the connection ID to key the number of likes. So now in here, when we receive a message, we'll have two types of messages. So we'll switch on the message, and one message will be like, right? And that will be how we increment. And when we like something, we'll say this likes add, and use the connection ID as the key, and then we'll break. And I'll copy this because unlike is quite similar. So I'll copy that, and then we'll just change it to unlike, and instead of adding, we delete. Okay, so those are the two messages. Now, once that's done, we could do the inefficient thing, which would be to broadcast the likes count. And we need to convert it to a string. And we could broadcast that to everybody. And then that means anytime somebody likes, we send it out to everyone. And this would, for now, we'll leave it like that, just to show you the issue. And the other thing we should probably do is we should handle when the person connects, because when a new user connects, they'll need to know what is the like total, right? The first time I visit the page, I want to know what the previous like count is. So we should send them this. So it's almost the same as this. I'll copy it. It's just, instead of this, it's con send. So when somebody connects, they'll get the latest count, and then if something changes, we'll broadcast it to everybody. Okay, cool. Now let's flip to the front end. Now I did create a component already called a like button here, which looks like that. So I'll copy that, so I don't have to go through that now. I'll just copy it into the project. And it depends on iconify Svelte. So let's install that package. Okay, great. Now we're ready to look at our app. So the first thing I want to change is I'll just remove a lot of the boilerplate. We don't need any of this stuff in the main. Let's just delete all of it. Let's delete all this style. Now the state that we have is a count, right? So we'll change it. We'll call it count, and the default will be 0. We don't need to send anything, so I'll delete that. Now in here, when we receive a message from the server, the message will always be a number, the count. So I'll set the count. This is a string, right? So we'll convert it to a number with a plus sign. And let's import the like button. And we can drop that in here. So we'll have a like button, and you could pass the count like that. I'm going to also increase the font size a bit, just so we can see it a little clearer. I don't know, 3 run. Okay, let's see. Now let's run this and see what it looks like. Okay, localhost 5176. Okay, so it's empty. If we tap it, nothing happens, and that's because we need to handle on-click on this button. So let's do that. In here, we'll have an on-click, and we'll have to toggle, right? Because you could unlike as well, right? So we have to we'll have a function here called toggle. And so we can't just send the like message, because we need to know sometimes it'll be unlike, sometimes it'll be like. So I think we should have state here to track whether it was liked or not. And the default will be false. And that also could be passed in here to the button. That's what makes it red when the liked is set. So now we can toggle the value here. So liked equals not liked. So if they've previously liked it, then it will switch to false, right? And then we can check here. So if we're switching to true, then we should send the message WS send like. Otherwise, we should send WS send unlike, right? Because it's false then. They've unliked it. Now, notice the count didn't change. So if I hit like, the count will stay at 0. So we could also do the change locally first. So this is essentially local first by incrementing that counter before the server, and then decrementing when we unlike. This way the change will happen immediately, even though the server hasn't told us yet. Cool. Now let's go back and see if that works. So if I hit this now, you see it updates to 1. If I refresh, it's showing 1. Now let's open another window here, just so we can see it in real time. So if I refresh, so I get 1 here. If I hit this, you see it updated here. So if when I click here, it updates on the other side. So there you go. So they're working in real time, but we have that same problem, the problem of broadcasting too many messages. So now we'll look at how we can fix that with alarms. So if I go back into the worker, we can set an alarm here. So I'll comment this out, and instead what we'll do is we'll say this CTX storage set alarm, and the alarm will be set, let's say, I don't know, for testing purposes, let's not make the alarm too big. We'll set it to 5 seconds from now. But in reality, maybe it could be 10 minutes or a minute. And then we have to handle on alarm. So let's do that. And then in alarm, that's where we'll do this. So I'll cut this and paste it. And so let's go back now to our well, actually, before we go back, one other thing we could do is we could still send here. So we could say over here, con send, and we could still send the likes size. So essentially, this way we're replying just to the person who sent. So somebody says, hey, I want to increment like, we can tell them the latest count value, but we're not telling it to everybody else, right? Everybody else will get it later in 5 seconds. Okay. So now if we update this, you see there's no change. It will take 5 seconds. There you go. Now I'll make the change here. You see it open locally, but it didn't happen here now. 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there you go. And the other small little problem that this one has, I think, is that every time the like happens, remember, you can only have one alarm. So if we keep resetting the alarm to 5 seconds from now, we could end up just having an endlessly sliding window where we're just always pushing it off for 5 seconds. So we really should check we should check first, is there an already an existing alarm? Because then there's no point in setting a new one. So what we'll do is we'll check if there's an alarm by calling ctx storage get alarm. And notice I used a wait, so I do have to put async on this function. And now we could check if there's an alarm. Sorry, if there's no alarm, then we will set one. Otherwise, it's already set, so there's no point, in setting a new one. Does that make sense? All right, let's give that a shot and see that we didn't break anything. I'll just refresh both of these. Oh, and by the way, keep in mind there's no authentication on this because that's a whole nother. We can visit that in another video. So you just refresh. You can refresh and you can set it again. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And then 5 seconds later, you see it updates here. All right, so there you have it. That's one way of using alarms to introduce a lag for performance improvement. And in the future video, we'll look at some other ways we can use alarms inside PartyServer. All right, take care. See you in the next one. Cheers.